man knew he was going to be thrown out of the plane, but he didn't panic and even laughed. The old man wonders what the man is laughing at. The man was just thinking about what the big man would do to them. The old man was puzzled by the man's words, but he signaled his men to start moving. Thus the man was pushed out of the cabin. The whole person quickly fell towards the ground and soon smashed into the ground without any life. The old man was still wondering who the man said was the big guy. This man is Jack's former comrade Kelvin. Knowing the cause of Kelvin's death, Jack went to a gun shop and spent a lot of money to buy a lot of weapons and equipment. Then they drove to New York to find the murderer. But what they didn't expect was to be stopped by a sheriff named Galasso, who Jack had beaten up earlier. Galasso didn't even give Jack a chance to explain. He just shouted him out of the car. Jack seemed to know what he was getting into, so while Galasso searched him, he told the others what he was going to do and shouted Tanner, who had been to law school, out of the car. Tanner tries to use his words to give Jack some face, but the jargon he uses is unintelligible. Galasso wonders what he's talking about. Tanner awkwardly explains, "Let's keep our opinions to ourselves." Jack is also surprised by Tanner's actions. Tanner was not only reprimanded by Galasso, but also ridiculed by Jack. Back at the station, Galasso took Jack and Tanner directly into the interrogation room. Galasso told them that he could have thrown them in jail for assaulting police officers, but in order to solve the case and catch the culprits as soon as possible, he hoped that Jack could cooperate with him and really provide some valuable information to the police. At the same time, Lucy and Kelly also came to the company that owns the car park called New Age. In their capacity as private detectives, they handed the parking certificate found in the killer's car to the other party, hoping that the other party would be able to provide information about the recipient behind the certificate. The lady in charge did not refuse, took the parking certificate and left. In about 5 minutes, the supervisor returned to the two men and handed Kelly the information on a piece of paper with the name of a man called Trevor and the corresponding address. At the same time, Galasso told Jack the information he had. They also went to Kelvin's studio and fixed the broken printer in the office, which gave them a more valuable clue. It was a copy of the killer's plan for a terrorist operation. They learned that the man was a weapons broker for the terrorists and could be the man they were looking for. He's like a ghost. He didn't leave any pictures. When he saw the names on it, Jack knew exactly what he was looking for. Sanchez and Aurora were looking for the same guy Kelvin was looking for, and the AM in the list of aliases they got is the initials of this person. Now there is another question. That is, could this Muhammad also be the other party's alias? So Jack wrote down all the names in the list of aliases in his mind and handed them to Galasso. He wanted Galasso to get the NSA to flag the names. Galasso took one look at the contents and didn't say anything, but just turned around and walked out of the lockup. Trevor asks Jack if we're involved in a terrorism-related case. Jack says it's possible. On the other side, Lucy and Kelly are back at the hotel. They were discussing the recent clues, but then Kelly made a comment that directly inspired Lucy. She was surprised to find that they could combine all the information on the paper. It's obvious someone's been separating their information to hide it. The 7 pieces of paper corresponded to 7 months, exactly the last 7 months. In an instant, a very clear clue was revealed to the two men. At the same time, Galasso returned to the lockup. He told the two men that he had just used the system to screen the aliases and found that a man named Carlos had bought a ticket from Denver to JFK about an hour ago. Galasso also said that as soon as the man checked in, then his people would arrest him. As expected, Carlos walked into the airport a short time later, but he soon realized something was wrong. There were a lot of glaring people standing around the lobby, obviously not airport security. In order to verify his suspicions, he deliberately knocked over the suitcase of one of them and surprisingly found that the other person's suitcase was empty. He hurriedly called Mike, the boss behind the scene, and told him that it might have been exposed, so their next plan would definitely be a few days late. Mike asked him if he was sure. Carlos said that no one would travel with an empty suitcase, so obviously he had been exposed. Carlos' words caused Mike to panic because he realizes that a day late is a day late. But Carlos doesn't panic. He told Mike that it wasn't the first time he had done this kind of thing, so Mike could not worry about it. Mike could only agree with what the other man said and asked him how he could continue to act without his IT card. The other party, however, did not move and looked at the plastic surgery adverts outside. He immediately thought of a solution. Soon after, Jack and Tanner returned to the hotel. Lucy told the two what they found on the list, and through the location information, Lucy had also pinpointed the exact residence of the man they found at the parking company today. When they were done, they headed for the location. After arriving at the door, Jack took out a homemade bomb from his handbag, lit it, and threw it directly into the house. The bomb slowly entered the house. A violent explosion occurred instantly. The explosion ignited a strong man in the room. Then several people rushed into the room and began to clear the targets in the room one by one. Jack quickly fired a few shots behind him, and the enemy hiding behind the door fell instantly. Behind him, an enemy rushed forward. Jack reacted quickly and killed him. Lucy also killed a man at the same time, but it didn't die. He got up and grabbed Lucy. Tanner tried to help but was confronted by another assassin, and so the two fought hand-to-hand in the room. It was a fierce back-and-forth battle. Lucy was slammed against the wall. Lucy's over-the-shoulder slam sends him down, dropping his weapon. Tanner slapped his foe in the face with a locker. He tries to bend down to pick up his gun, but he's pushed back by his opponent. Lucy was also knocked to the ground by his opponent. Luckily, Lucy was the first one to pick up the gun and gave the killer a good output, but after firing all the bullets, the killer is still alive and has raised his gun towards her. At this moment, Tanner suddenly attacked and shot the other party's head directly. After clearing all the killers, they gathered together again. Jack noticed that one of them had started his car and started to run away. Jack didn't hesitate and chased after him, seeing that the other person will soon disappear from his sight. Jack directly shortcut, began in the dark alleyway rampage, rushed to the front of the other party, directly threw a heavy object hard, hit the other party's car, scared the other party panic steering wheel, and ultimately with a car on the side of the road rear end. Jack will be the other party out of the car. Just want to ask something. The result of the man was directly scared to commit a hard attack, fell to the ground, and lost the ability to act. Jack found out the card from the man's body and found that the man was actually an employee of New Era Company. Previously, they thought that the killer had nothing to do with New Era, but the clues they got now were not like that, so their next focus should be on this New Era Company. After preparing their equipment, they planned to go to New Era to look for clues. Jack briefly explained the task to several people, and then directly slammed on the accelerator and began to reverse the car. The crowd looked at Jack's rough way is not surprised at all. The car crashed through the glass wall of the company and stopped in the lobby. After getting out of the car, they dispersed towards their respective destinations. Lucy was responsible for taking all the hard drives from the data center in the building. Tanner went to the data room and took all the files. Jack went into the president's office and took all the electronic devices and folders. Before leaving, Jack noticed the group photo on the wall. He smashed the glass with a single blow and took the photo. After finding a quiet car park, Jack took out the photo and started to study it, and found that their team member Swan was in the photo. Everyone was surprised. It turns out that Swan has been working at the New Age with the people who want to kill us. Then they went to a restaurant and started to study the information they found from New Age. That's when Tanner suggested a possibility. 3 members of their team were killed. 1 is missing, and the missing member just happened to work in New Age. Doesn't that mean that Swan was probably involved in the hunt for the other 3 members? But Jack doesn't agree with Tanner's guess because he knows Swan. Tanner was dumbfounded by Jack's words. Maybe Jack just can't accept that Swan is the murderer of his 3 comrades. At that moment, Tanner saw an employee recognition form with Swan's name on it. Turns out Swan worked at New Era as the assistant director of security. And the director of security is Mike, Calvin's murderer. Jack guessed that the person he talked to in the casino was the same person. Kelly was confused. Jack said that this person is the head of the security department and has the right to give orders. He guessed that the people who were after us were ordered by him to kill us. He said it's also possible that he's the one responsible for Swan's predicament. That's when they noticed the fat guy. Jack gave a hard attack to the other night. He held the position of Deputy Security Officer at New Era, and by association, the female operations director who gave them her name and address. All of them worked for New Age at the same time, and the murderer of their comrade was among them. For a moment, they couldn't tell what the other party's purpose was. In that case, they must use the elimination method to investigate the suspects one by one. But before they could get started, Kelly made a new discovery. She found a lot of emails with Swan on a USB stick. What's unusual is that Swan, who is the assistant to the security director, copied all the emails to his boss, Mike, and 6 other members of the security team. Kelly thought it was reasonable. They were a team and needed to share information. But the strange thing is that not all the emails were copied to other people. There are 2 documents. Swan only copied to Mike and not copied to other people. And these 2 emails are about music, and also said that the author called Delix wrote a very good song. At this moment, Tanner reacted because he remembered that in the army, Swan hated Delix songs, and now he said that they were good. Obviously, it seems that there is something behind it, or it could be the code word that the 2 of them used to communicate with each other. Meanwhile, Lucy finds out that the 6th song in their email is called Little Wings. Jack was suddenly startled when he heard this. He remembered that he had just seen a document for a federal defense project called Little Wings, and that it was the largest amount of money New Era had ever received to date. A 9-figure sum. From an office memo, Jack saw that it looked like they were going to test the little wing's technology for some military dignitaries and even a congressman. Lucy asked what was to be tested and where, but it doesn't say. Jack found out that a congressman named Lavoie would be involved. If he's guaranteed a congressional vote, he'll make the little wings a reality. That's when Tanner spoke again. He knew a lot about this congressman named Lavoie, and then known in Washington as a paperback. Because of his erratic political approach and votes, everyone thought he might be up to something shady. Jack thinks that if New Era can make money off of government contracts, that means they've bought Lavoie out. Kelly agrees with him. In order to prove these suspicions, they'd have to talk to Lavoie, but he's a congressman. They can't just meet him. But Tanner said they didn't even need to talk to Lavoie himself. They could get the same results if they started with someone close to him. They all thought it was a good idea, so they started moving. Will they be able to find the man behind their comrade's murder? What challenges will they face? This is Zero Sense Film. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.